All right then. How are they looking, Coach?
Good.
You should. I mean,
I don't know the kids.
it's
I've done very few assessments. Yeah. 2-time assessment.
You know what?
Okay.
More people trying to do
I go here for the job.
it.
You gotta scrimmage.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So no worries.
yes, but see.
Congratulations.
We moved into 7-7 because I have to teach zone at the busy zone.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't know any of the freshmen. I know
But we're not.
Two other players that were trying to play her. That's it. But I guess in the last minute they decided not to.
Yeah, we're on the list. Yeah.
They got 4 in the first year. And in 5th grade. It's like, and then she's like, thank you. We're trying to pull together Wednesday. So I don't know if either Tuesday or Wednesday. And if it's neither of them, I need a better. That's actually fun. Awesome. Okay. Processing.
Congrats.
Megan is taking a while. Either day as long as it's 6 o'clock or later. And I don't see Kristen Carter yet, so hopefully one of them will show. Otherwise I
Yes. Yeah, I emailed that to both of them. Yeah. You guys get to go to that too.
So I want to get that and say.
In the stadium. Yeah, right. Oh, that's good. That's true. That's true. Good point. Good point. Yeah, you guys follow. It's pretty cool.
No, they do.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys all know each other. So.
I was going to ask you last summer because I did
Yeah. Good choices. Good choices.
We know, right? Never
That's true. Good for you.
Okay, please take your seats. Good evening. A quorum being present, we'll call the meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. I invite everybody to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God,
equal liberty and justice for all.
Mrs. Cannon, welcome back in person. Good to have you back. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from March 16th, 2021. Oh, I'm sorry. Second. Or no, hold on. Dr. Nelson wants to do something else. We have very special guests with us tonight, and we want to take the opportunity to give them the recognition they deserve. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. As you probably, most of you know or remember, that this is something we usually do in December. We recognize our superintendent scholars. We're always so proud of our students. As I say, they always make us look so good. We're just so proud of them. So tonight, I'm delighted to be able to present our two scholars, Tantasqua and Nina Ellison, and I'll just call them up one at a time, and they each have a parent with them to receive their recognition. I did tell them we'd be here all night if I had to read their full portfolios. So I selected a few highlights for them. So, Tom, would you come on up, please? Thank you. So, does Mom want to come up?
I have to go.
Thanks. So, Tantasqua is a student in Sturbridge. His mom Becky is here, and his dad is Stephen Saluza. And some of his accomplishments and activities for clubs, he's been involved in Feels Like Monday, marching band, drama club, and the math team. He is a National Merit Scholarship Award winner, a College Board Recognition Program Award winner, and an AP Scholar with Honors Award winner. And he is a member of the cross-country team. He also does community service, working with the Sturbridge Trails Committee and the Joshua High Library. And Tom just shared with me that he will be attending our in the fall. So congratulations, Tom.
RPI.
So here we have our Certificate of Academic Excellence presented to Tantasqua, having duly qualified under the standards prescribed by the Mass Association of School Superintendents. We are hereby awarded the Certificate of Academic Excellence. So again, congratulations, Tom. There we go. And I did forget to mention that on May 25th, we will be going to the Scholar Luncheon. It's going to be outdoors this year at Fully State. So,
Oh, great. That's great.
thank you. And next we have Nina Ellison. If Nina and her mom can come on up, please. And here. Nina is a resident of Fiskdale, and she's here with Mom Angeline Ellison and her dad Michael Ellison. And Nina is also involved in many, many activities. She's a member of the National Honor Society, currently serving as the president this year. She's a member of the Tantasqua Show Choir Pit Band, Choraleers, Tantasqua Encore, Tantasqua Radiance, and was a member of the Humanities Scholars. She is a Connections Peer Leadership Program member. She's a 2020 Central Mass Show Choir Festival Outstanding Soloist, highest honor roll, UMass Juniper Young Writers Institute Scholarship recipient. She also does community service, the Sturbridge Trails Cleanup Crew, Food Drives, and Christmas caroling, as well as the Joshua High Library, a member of the varsity tennis team as well, and participated in an Access to Amherst College this year. And Nina is still deciding between Cornell and Amherst College. So she knows that she has only the rest of this week to make her decision. So she's thinking really hard about where she is going to be taking on her next adventure academically. So again, Nina Ellison, having duly qualified under the standards described by the Mass Association of School Superintendents, hereby awarded this certificate of academic excellence. And congratulations to you. You are certainly welcome to stay, folks, if you'd like, but if
Have a good night.
Thank you.
It's a nice day. Go celebrate.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you, Dr. Mendoza.
Well done.
Nice to have some nice. All right, we'll now move to the formal part of our agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of March 16, 2021, the regular session and public hearing. Motion has been made by Mrs. Article, seconded by Mrs. Noyes Miller. Any discussion? Edits? All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Are there any abstentions for the record? I'll entertain a motion to approve the April 13th, 2021 virtual meeting minutes. Motion's been made by Mrs. Randall, seconded by Mr. Goodwin. Discussion? Seeing none, the chair will call for a vote. Those in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions for the record? Motion carries. All right, we will move to the financial report, FY22 budget updates. Mrs. Boyd.
Okay, and if it is okay with the chair, I think the budget subcommittee chair and I can kind of tag team and take care of this, a number of business items in the subcommittee then.
Sure. So we'll advance the subcommittee report and do it in tandem with your financial report.
Excellent. So, I mean, first, just kind of some updates on this year. Your report looks pretty similar to the way it has the last couple of months. We got the lines that we know we are dealing with the shortfalls in the area of out-of-district tuitions and liability. Revenues, we know we're going to be short in areas such as building rentals that we will be getting none of. But that's okay. We had a plan and we're doing okay because other lines, you know, have some positives such as athletics and performing arts. We did just a few weeks ago. Yes, this is April of the fiscal year. In April, we finally found out that we were getting, it's $169,000 of rural aid that has to be spent by June 30th. So the good news is that is not a COVID grant. So it doesn't have to be COVID related. It can be absolutely anything that we would do. So in this particular case, the best thing is going to be to journal entry or some of the expenses for the rest of the year to charge there, which is going to free up some of the negatives in this year's budget, and we're going to end up in decent shape. It might even allow us to be in a place of not using quite as much school choice funds that we plan to spend towards operations. So thanks for the late notice, but we certainly did a revenue report before we move on to the kind of other business. Okay, moving on. One little quirky housekeeping business is that as we're already preparing for the fiscal 21 audit, we do some pre-work in April and then late summer we get audited on the year. And what I discovered is in the craziness last year of May, June, and July, those of you who were with us remember we had a meeting in July that the subcommittee reported out. We were going to do a couple of I think we did some grant expenditures. I'm trying to remember what other business we did. But the bottom line is, we failed to vote the budget number we're living off of right now and have been since September 1st, or since July 1st. If I gave you the backup that shows that the public, we voted a budget of $24,803,584. Then we started having conversations and ended up reducing what's on the next page, because we knew we were going to get at least level funded Chapter 70, and we're hoping not worse, and we didn't. So we did all agree to reduce that 291 and have been living with it, but we never voted that third page in, the 24,511,988, which is the budget we've been working on the whole year. And I want to, from a housekeeping perspective, get the committee on the record as voting it for auditing purposes.
So I'd like to make a motion for the total operating budget for fiscal year 2021 of $24,511,988. This was fully recommended by the budget subcommittee.
Doesn't require a second. It's a recommendation of the standing subcommittee. We'll bring it to the floor for a vote. Is there discussion? Questions? Seeing none, the chair will call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, then, Sheila, do you want me to continue, or do you want to talk, we've got some FY22 budget updates?
Yeah, I'll start out. We had, when we went to the public hearing, we had 65,000 that was to be determined that we had to reduce the budget by. And with recommendations, we are pulling out 37,000 for the junior high assistant, which is going to be funded by a grant, and 28,000 from the teaching salaries, which is a recent resignation and will be replaced with entry level. So that would take care of that 65,000 to be determined, and that was fully recommended by the budget subcommittee. So I'd like to make that motion.
All right, we'll bring that motion to the floor. It indicates the,
And it's an interesting, and I don't even know, it might even just be an unanimous consent, because we're not changing the bottom line budget. We already voted, we're staying with the same number you voted at public hearing, but we had this $65,000 to be determined, hoping what happened, that we'd have a little bit of staff turnover that helped build it, and then the rest, we're just going to recommend one more year of paying the nurse assistant from the grant. We're doing it this year, we'll do it again next year. So
just to
I guess-
recap, then it's 37,000 by funding the junior high nurse assistant via a grant, and a $28,000 reduction to the teaching salary line. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any objection to it? By unanimous consent, I'll deem so approved.
awesome. Then one more, we can tag team, or I can go from there. It's after the detailed finance report. There's a one-page here that we reviewed with the budget subcommittee, and they have voted to support this plan for use for the SR2 grants. So the reminder is, remember, once we get to SR2 and 3, they do not have to be 100% COVID reopening related. They can be in the areas of continuing to keep facilities safe for COVID, but then also to be really looking at remediation and mental health support services. So we've spelled out here, are you good? You want me to roll with it, or you want to go, Sheila?
Go right ahead.
We've spelled out here the SR2 allocation that we know, and I think I've shared with some of you, is that 418,000. I am happy to say that right now, I think the worst case would be losing 53,985 to the town. Those of you that might remember, there's this kind of new twist that the municipality could choose to use some of the school's funds to fund their operating assessment. Sturbridge had the potential to take the biggest chunk out, and I have been informed by the finance director and finance committee that they currently have a budget that they're recommending that does not use any of that and supports the assessments we put out. So that's awesome news. Given that, I did reduce what I think we could end up losing a little bit of, bringing us with the 364 that we think is available. Now, before I go through these items, I want to clarify, we don't have SR3 numbers yet. We're waiting for them. We think Desi is still crunching the numbers, but we are told that they're going to be in the area of twice the SR2, which would mean we can build a plan that is this, and it has a life of September 2024. So we can build plans that we think are sustainable for 3 years. We just have to carefully build plans that is a balance of the staffing needs to do what we need to for mental health services and remediation, as well as you'll see, some technology in some schools, it's facilities, infrastructure, and it could be supply and PPE. So we're just kind of moving cautiously but optimistically that we think that this plan here would serve the district well and is sustainable for 3 years. And 3 years is forever from now. So at that point in time, we see hopefully we're in a great place. Some positions may at that point in time need to go away. Some could be absorbed through attrition, through retirements. There's a whole lot that can happen in 3 years. With so far? So as you can see, and I don't necessarily need to read to all of you, but the ones that might want explanation, we just talked about the junior high assistant nurse. So we want to keep that going, and we have got to fold that into the regular budget. That is something that we don't see 2 years, 3 years, 4 years going away. We need to get that in. On the junior high end, to help with some of the mental health and social emotional issues, we're suggesting that we have a model there where you have a school psychologist that is also team chair and also trying to do some counseling, and it's just too much, knowing first of all we need more, but in a regular year, it's a struggle of a month. So our suggestion is that we pull out the team chair, the facilitating, the documentation piece of it, which will allow for more school psychologist and direct counseling time. We are suggesting that we put back in 2 of the 3 positions we could not fill from the high school last year when you had 3 retirements. We were cutting and slashing and hoping to get to level. Mr. Lucas will work on which 2 of the 3, where that is. And the note there, the asterisk, I'll go right down the bottom there. When you use federal funds for professional staff, you also have to pay mass teachers retirement for those salaries. So the salaries noted here are not necessarily the base salary paid, they include the MTRS portion. We would like to, we think it's important to get back in. If you remember, we tried in the very first pass anyway to put an additional custodian in this building to keep up with the cleaning and the maintenance. So we're looking to get that back in via grant funding next year. We're looking to bump up a little bit of the social emotional support. You have a 0.75 guidance counselor who also has the ability and credentials to provide those extra services. In fact, we're using some of the grant funds this year for not the whole year, but just a month or so ago. We said we really need, as kids are getting deeper and deeper into the year and struggling. So that is an opportunity, a perfect opportunity to just, you have an existing person that's 0.75. Let's use the grant funds to let them be 1.0 and focus on some SEL supports. The other area on instructional assistance, in a given year, both schools struggle with instructional assistants and meeting the needs. They're always assigned based on students and student needs. We often don't fill them if someone is out, which means we are giving less service than we would like to. So having one more in each building, we think next year certainly, we can't afford to not be filling the holes when someone is out there, when there's an absence or sickness or something. We want to have that person, and then also be able to use that for some additional support where needed, because we're anticipating more students are going to need the supports. And then the rest, we're looking at technology. Right now, it looks like the junior high is more in need of smartboard replacements. If you'll remember, those who've been here for a while, we started with smartboards at the junior high. So those are starting to get old. We need to replace them before they break. When they break down in the middle of the year, it's in the middle of a lesson plan and it's not great. So we can proactively start replacing some of those. I think that money replaces 4 of them. And then get another Chromebook cart here at the high school. We put a whole lot in, but there's a whole lot more that we can put in.
Central support of the budget subcommittee. We don't need to vote on this.
You know, again, technically no, but I don't mind having a vote of record from the committee to support the plan.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion for the Sr2 grant funding fiscal year 22 as recommended.
We'll bring that motion to the floor. It doesn't require a second. It's a recommendation of the subcommittee. Discussion? Any objection? Unanimous consent or deem the proposal approved. Mr. Floyd?
I think that covers it for this month. Thank you.
All right, we will move to our staff reports. Mr. Sturgis?
Well, today was our first day to back full in-person learning. So anyone who's on 148 between 7:15 and 7:45, you would have known that. But it couldn't have gone any better. Smooth from the beginning to the end, minus pickup and drop off, but that'll just get better. That's the same as it would have been on a typical year on day one anyways. So it just couldn't have gone any better. Kids were awesome, as they've been all year. Our students are they play by the rules, they want to be there, and it was just a great day all around. Again, you see the mask breaks and hundreds of kids out in front of the building, around the building, just laughing and happy to be back. So it was just an all-around good day. Weather helped too, it was beautiful out. So just want to bring to your attention the Sidewalk Grant that I had asked for permission to apply for last meeting. We did win the award for that money. So right now, currently, I'm working with Rick Weatherby, our facilities manager, to kind of coordinate that project and get it going. So we've at the tail end of getting our 3 bids for that project, and we're close to them moving forward with that. So that I've worked with Jeff Bridges from the town of Sturbridge. So it's we're ready to go on that as soon as we can pick the people to do so. As many of you, or a few of you, met with us on Monday at the curriculum subcommittee meeting. We have an MCAS schedule, and we are going to be testing the 3 subject areas, so grade 7 and 8 English, grade 7 and 8 math, and then grade 8 science, technology, and engineering. The first week of June, 3 days in a row. The same as we told you back in March, the state did modify the test, so it's only 1 test per content area. And so we'll be doing the entire school 1 test at a time. So we'll shut down 7th and 8th grade for the mornings of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday after Memorial Day weekend. And we'll do our best to kind of knock out the whole school in 3 quick days. And that leaves us a good week or 2 before the end of the year for makeups and such. So, and the idea, the hope is to coordinate the time for remote kids to come into the building to test. And we'll provide them with a safe environment where they hopefully feel comfortable and come in. And then just the spring sports for us. I know the high school's had sports all year, for the most part, minus a few glitches, but it's nice to see kids outside again after school. Clubs are up and running in person again. We had tennis club today in person, we had baseball, softball tryouts going, so it's just, it feels like we're coming back to the sense of normalcy at the junior high. So, anyone has any questions on that?
Mr. Sturgis? Thanks, Greg. Mr. Lucas?
All right, thank you. We also finalized our MCAS dates for high school. We have to give bio MCAS to freshmen and physical science MCAS to freshmen. Then we're going to do sophomores, ELA, and math, and it's optional for juniors this year. Juniors do not have it as a requirement this year because of COVID for a state diploma, but they can take it if they're interested in receiving the Abigail Adams Scholarship. So it's a great opportunity for kids. A lot of our kids have taken advantage of that. You go to state schools, it gets up to about $1,800 off a year, depending on which state school you go to. Anywhere from $1,200 to $1,800. So that has been sent out. We've done surveys, we've connected with parents, and juniors are signing up for optional MCAS. We'll see how many we get. So from June 2nd to June 9th, we're going to test. The 10th and 11th will be our makeup dates at the end. We're going to do it right in a row. We decided to wait and let the seniors enjoy a few weeks of school of normalcy and waive their MCAS for them so they don't have disruptive days. So they'll be gone. Their last day is May 21st. Their last day for culminating projects to pass them in and finish with their teachers is May 27th. Process their grades, they have seen me. So they will be out of the building. They'll be very happy they're out of the building by then. And we'll do MCAS. So we're ready to go. We got a great group working on it. Mrs. Lamoth, Ms. Bertie, Ms. Kuhn have done a wonderful job organizing MCAS so far. We also started spring sports on Monday. It was great to see all the teams out there. It was fantastic. We have a full spring sports scheduled from now, and it's going to go into June. So it's going to go a little later than normal. Coach Fitzgerald can advise you how lacrosse is going. but we're going. It is really amazing when you talk to the kids, though, how excited they are to start spring sports again. And we need to remember, these kids had no spring sports. We did get last winter, then had some kind of winter sports, but these kids lost their whole season last spring. So it's nice to see the excitement of all those kids back to get back outside for spring sports. So all those schedules are being finalized with pods and groupings, and those should be out really soon. But it was a great first day. Our staff and students were amazing today. We were commiserating as principals. We all got our 10,000 steps in today. We're exhausted, but it was an awesome day. And as Greg said, and Mark and I have said, it couldn't have gone better. And again, it's because of our staff and our students. The students, you guys just roll with it. It's amazing. And it went really, really well. We have some tweaking to do with passing times between hallways, before school, after school, but we're going to work on that again in lunches and work on that again tomorrow and Friday to make some adjustments for Monday. Really couldn't have gone any better. Happy to take any questions.
I did drive by the other day. It was great to see the fields.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
Makes a difference.
Gives you that spring spirit.
Sure does.
Yeah.
Great, thanks, Mike. What?
Thank you. Out of the report, I just want to throw a shout out to a couple of teachers and their students. In the report, you see Mr. Russo work with his students to help a student create a board for now she's able to communicate. And what I didn't include are the pictures that they sent, which is just amazing. The girl actually being able to use that board to communicate, and the smile on her face is awesome. And so that was wonderful. And on a Saturday, there was a need for somebody who needed a ramp, so Mr. Segan went and volunteered his time with his students, and in one day built the ramp. And anybody who knows anything about the cost of wood, it's crazy, but it was just a project with the kids. The pictures he sent with the kids working on it was just phenomenal. So kudos to them giving back to the community. A little bit I want to follow up on Skillsusa, which is part of the report. So it has been a very unique and different year in a virtual world. This week, we have some kids competing. We had one group compete, and that was Lydia Julian and Liliana Moody. They have already done their competition. We don't know how they've done because everything is going to come back in May. This week, tomorrow, Melissa Williams, Ethan Field, and William Kimball have a virtual problem that they have in automated manufacturing, and the three of them will be working on that tomorrow. And on Friday, Colby, Eric Bitzitsky, and Connor Milnicki. When your name is Wood, anything else long is just confusing. They will be competing live in person on Friday at BBT. Colby for his industrial motor controls, Eric for internet working, and Connor in carpentry. And as I said, totally different world. Kudos to Denise Carrier, who's the Skillsusa. Every one of these competitions comes with about 20 pages of directions. It is just amazing how she has organized everything and not only kept the kids in line, but more importantly, kept the teachers in line. And we had teachers who were here till 4 or 5 o'clock tonight, helping to help kids prepare for the competitions. And last month, I reported to you that we were working with Quabog on the Common for the kids in health careers to go out on clinical, and that has started this week. And that has gone quite well. Parents and students were given the opportunity to opt out if they wanted to. We did have some students who wanted to opt out, so they are now working on their home health assistant curriculum. The kids started on Monday. They went to Quabog on the Common. They received 2 COVID tests, one in the morning and one in the app later on in the day when they left, and that will continue. They are not permitted to work on COVID patients. They are not permitted to work on COVID floors. So the Quabog has done a phenomenal job to protect our kids, and I would say the kids are thrilled to be there. It's so cool, and we have actually the number of kids, and I don't know if you talk to kids about this, but the number of kids that we have who have recently been vaccinated because it's opened up to 16 plus, but the number of kids who had it before because they may have worked at Quabog or they may have worked in restaurants. So a lot of these kids who are going out have already been vaccinated, so that's just a win. And kudos to Mrs. Cartwright and Mr. Pace for really working and helping to negotiate all of this for the kids to have that experience. And I was saying to Maddie earlier, the irony is we're preparing the kids for the CNA testing. We have been fighting with DESE and the Board of the Department of Health all year to give them hours for clinical working on the SIMS mannequins, which have both blood pressures and pulses and everything else. And the answer's been no. When the kids are taking their CNA tests, they are with regular mannequins that have none of that, so they don't do any of that as part of the test. So it blew my mind when I learned that, but I think it's a great opportunity for our kids. Like, honest to God, if you had asked me 2 months ago, is this ever gonna happen for them, I would have said no. So credit to the teachers who are really pushing forward to get this done, so. Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Wood?
I think you also submitted, Mark, that the manufacturing program has received a $10,000.
Oh, yes.
But that was, it just April 15th, so I know it didn't.
Yes, so last year, we were fortunate enough to get a $10,000 Gene Haas Foundation grant, and from that, to a student last year and a student this year, we received a $2,500 scholarship. I submitted it, wrote the grant again this year, and we have now been awarded that $10,000 grant again, and that check will be coming in about 4 to 6 weeks. And now we're sitting down with Mr. Russo and Mr. Louvervier to determine how do we want to spend that. And credit to the Haas Foundation. The only thing that it says you cannot purchase or do anything with Brett is purchase of Haas machinery. So that's great for them. Thank you, Dr. Lee.
All right, we'll move to committee reports. First, our students.
Mary, is there? Get the 18 tonight.
So student council has been very busy recently, getting ready for the end of the year. On April 9th and 10th, we attended a virtual MASC conference right here in the cafeteria. We even had one of our own students run for the executive board, Evan Hemingway, who was elected as the 2021-2022 MASC State Board Delegate. We've continued to hold in-person full board meetings. We are holding one more meeting on May 4th, and then we will be holding elections for the following year. Executive Board, we are currently planning our Spring Spectacular and Warrior Day of Service, which will be held on May 22nd. The Warrior Day of Service will consist of 5 projects around campus to help the community, such as campus cleanup, blessing bags, and they will be donated to the Avenue House of Lister.
Our Spring Spectacular captures pep rally and spring cleaning in a socially distant event outside. We will be having each trade decorate a tent, and there will be multiple contests with 4 grades competing against one another. We are also currently planning our senior prom, which will be held on June 4th here on campus. We are currently selling tickets for this event at all 3 lunches. We have rented a tent, which will be located outside on the softball field with tables all socially distant. And instead of dancing, we decided to do trivia and fun events throughout the night because I was better with the guidelines that the state has provided. Dinner will be provided by Tantasqua's culinary students. And then lastly, we are planning our senior send-off week and senior sunset week, which will be taking place on June 10th, the same night as class night. In the past, school committee has donated lunch to the people in the senior class on class night. And the class of 2021 was wondering if school committee would be willing to donate dinner for our class again after class night to help us celebrate and end our senior year.
I believe I can speak for all of us when I say yes.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Yep.
Make sure you get dessert.
For the tech program, the electrical and the IT departments have been working together. We recently just put in all new Ethernet ports in the Brookfield Town Hall Annex and a whole new network. So we're doing that for them. We just finished that. IT was there, I believe, today. I'll be there tomorrow, finishing up. And really the tech program, we're all glad to have most of our students back so that they can keep working towards their certifications and just keep working on their hours. That's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Oh, and then, so I'm working with student council, planning our senior trip, and it's gonna be going to Six Flags, and we're still ironing out the date because the date we just finalized on, I found out today, does not work with them, so. Now we have to jump through a few more hoops to try and finalize another date. We'll be taking buses down there for the day, so students can just get out and have fun. It's the last hurrah for the class before graduation, and it's just going to be a good event.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. All right, we've already received an update from budget, right?
Yes, I'm all set. Thank you.
No report from technical, we'll move to curriculum, Mrs. Barnacle.
Yes, we had a meeting on Monday night. We had 4 topics on the agenda. We talked about MCAS updates, which you've already heard tonight. We talked about a junior high math curriculum resource, which once that's been fleshed out, we'll bring back to the committee and be able to give you a good explanation of all of that. We also had a discussion about the French language program in jeopardy because of low numbers. Mike, you want to say something about that?
Yeah, we just talked about how our numbers continue to decline in French. We had a nice chat about it. We're posted twice now for a position we're trying to refill. It's been very difficult to find somebody to apply to it. There just aren't a lot of folks out there that are getting licensed to teach French anymore. Spanish has become very, very popular. Obviously, it's very usable in America for many reasons, and French has been declining for years. So we have a staff member retiring and looking to refill that 0.66. We posted it externally, internally, and got nothing. I've spoken to other high schools. Mr. Goodwin brought up a good point about sharing with another school. We've talked to other schools about that possibility. It'd have to be another school that doesn't rotate schedules. We've looked at some online opportunities for kids, so if they were in the program in French 2, 3, 4, they could still finish. So we're hoping that somebody moves into our area with all the real estate craziness and would love a part-time French job. So we'll see what happens, but we just wanted to talk about it to be on the group's radar that it is something we're a little bit concerned about going forward. It's hard to find anybody that will even do it. We love our community, but as we know, we're a half hour from everywhere at Tantasqua. So unless somebody moves in, we'll see what happens. Is that something like that?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
about what we talked about. And then we also discussed summer learning opportunities.
Yes.
Say anything about that?
Yeah, Joey, piece of that. The junior high is trying to get off the ground with some participation. Don't have yet dates for the summer learning opportunities for 7th and 8th grade. Our ideal situation would to be provide 6th grade students to attend at 7th grade or junior high to help with the transitioning. But it really is very dependent on staffing at the moment. So we're working diligently to get teachers to participate. Mr. Sturgis has a contact to hopefully get the wheel in motion to get the plans made for the summer. I will say that when we do get it up and running, we'd like to piggyback it with what's happening at the high school. The high school is providing a completely different grant for the same purpose. 4 weeks of summer learning as many programs, an enrichment program for students who want to participate in that with mindfulness kind of SEL type practices, course recovery credit program that those courses will be in attendance for all 4 courses will be in attendance for all 4 weeks. The enrichment program only 2 weeks for whichever class is selected. And the 3rd week specifically would be designed for 8th grade students to come here and transition nicely and work with some staff members to get some anxiety, potentially anxiety out prior to the school year. That starts July 6th and ends actually by 28th or 9th. So
Yes.
It's all of July.
Last Thursday, July.
So we're delighted to say that grants will provide transportation for students at the high school. And as long as we can coordinate junior high summer learning activity, we will provide transportation as well for the 7th and 8th.
So that's it. For discussion.
All right, that'll take us to bylaw and policy. Mrs. Fitzgerald?
Mr. Chair, do you want to do those now, or would you prefer to wait until unfinished business and new business. I can, it's not to sound like I'm playing Name That Tune, but I can do it in 3 motions. So,
There is a lot of confused. It doesn't look worse than.
No, well, I looked at it, it looked that bad.
that's not the thing. You want to do it now? Sure. All right.
At this point, Michelle, you've got really good at kind of knowing.
I'm on it. So if we'll take first, as I said, we can do this in 3 motions. If we look at unfinished business, we have 13 policies listed under unfinished business. They are here before you on second reading. They have not been changed or altered in any way since first reading. And for that reason, the subcommittee moves that they be either adopted or rescinded as noted on second reading.
I can bring that motion to the floor. We're talking all the items under unfinished business, FA through GCD.
Correct.
Is there any discussion, questions? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries.
Now, under new business, we only have 6 motions that actually have these substantive changes. I'll take them, assuming no issues, as one motion, but I will go through them very quickly individually. First, we have GDB. Well, yeah, there you go. GCE, professional staff recruiting. Correct? Yeah, sorry. Professional staff recruiting, posting of vacancies. You can see we made one addition to our policy using guidance from MASC. That's the only addition. Yes. Hold on. Give me 1 minute. Here we go. Too many packets. Yeah, as I said, we made one addition on GCE, taking into considerations of the town and the need for a heterogeneous staff from various cultural backgrounds. There was language suggested by MSAC in terms of our professional staffing. We thought it was appropriate. That's the only addition to the current policy. Moving on to GCF, professional staff hiring. You'll see that in the enumerated number 1, we added language to comply with the law to address genetic information, ancestry, and military status when we talk about professional hiring. And in our legal references, we dropped reference to NGL 7145 because it's been repealed. On to GCG. Is our part-time and substitute professional staff employment. We've changed the title by deleting part-time. We do not have part-time professional staff in that regard, and so the policy is limited to substitute professional staff. That's been deleted, and we have added a reference to the collective bargaining agreement. GCJ, professional teacher status. Again, we have 3 substantive amendments. In the second paragraph, we're adding that notifications on reappointment must be made by June 15th or at an earlier date required by the collective bargaining agreement. Again, we want to make sure our policies are always in line with that CBA. Likewise, you'll see the addition to the third paragraph, subject to satisfactory evaluations. That's not the CBA. And the statutory reference 71, section 42B is just something that needed to be added to be accurate with current law. And finally, we have tutoring for pay. Our current tutoring for pay, GCRD, has been completely replaced. We are replacing it with an updated content from our MASC book that adheres to essentially the ethics laws currently in place in Massachusetts. So our original is out, and what you see before you is the replacement. So, barring any objection, the subcommittee asks for a motion.
GDB is also.
Did I miss one? Oh, GDB, support staff,
That is the six.
contracts and compensation. Yeah. Oh, sorry about that. Yes, so our current policy has been combined with a policy which will be coming up later for rescission. So our suggested policy, GDB, represents a combination of the two, essentially to streamline our policies and not have redundancy where it's not needed. And basically, we're trying to reduce the sheer number of policies we have when groupings make sense. This grouping made sense. So with that, those 6 policies, the subcommittee asks or moves that they be adopted on first reading. I'm sorry, amended on first reading.
All right, so we'll bring that motion to the floor. Again, we're talking under new business GCE through GDB.
Right.
Amended on first reading. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the chair will call for a vote. Those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay.
And next, Mr. Chairman, we have 5 policies, starting with GCL and running through GDK. All 5 are to be rescinded at the recommendation of the subcommittee. Some because they're redundant, as I just explained, they've been merged into other policies. Several because they're more appropriately included in the collective bargaining agreement and represent a duplication of what's in the bargaining agreement. For that reason, we're asking that they be rescinded. So, policy GCL through GDK, we ask that they be rescinded on first reading.
Bring that motion to the floor. Discussion? Objection? Unanimous consent, it's approved.
And just for the record, you'll note that there are 13 policies that we did review that require no action by this committee. There were no changes, no amendments. We're just here for your education.
Thank you, Mrs. Fitzgerald. Great work to the bylaw policy subcommittee. All right, that brings us to negotiations. Mrs. Randall, you want to offer an update?
Sure, we are-
Public session.
We are currently in negotiations with the TEA, and we have 3 upcoming meetings, so we're making progress.
And we are in the midst of scheduling for negotiations with Unit B. And I know a couple of folks have asked relative to Unit A. It seems to be taking a little longer than it has in the past. Just so folks are clear, they're not using IBB this time. The TEA requested traditional bargaining, and that does tend to take a little longer than an IBB weekend session. So I know there's been some question about the length of time, but that's the driving force behind that. Thank you, Mrs. Randall. And that brings us to building a physical plant. Mrs. Field. Okay. Next, we come to communications. There's a letter from Dr. Nozick that went out to families a couple of weeks ago prior to spring break. And there's also a letter in the packet to Chief Dessert from Dr. Nozick.
Yeah, just a thank you, the town of Sturbridge included us in a request to FEMA for some additional PPE supplies, so really appreciate that. Next month, I'll get that full list of what we're able to get, but really appreciate the officer with Chief Dessert.
Sort of replenishing what was going to be last year.
Yeah.
When everything was kind of given out.
A lot of it, exactly, and it was just a first committee that came up with FEMA and very much.
Great. And that brings us right into you, Dr. Nozick.
Alrighty, we have quite a few updates. The principal spoke about a number of them. Also, I want to give tremendous thanks to everybody who made today happen. Full in-person learning, we've been slowly moving towards that, but are extremely appreciative of all the work that our faculty and staff did, administrators, to get us to this point. The kids were extremely happy to be back again. I think all our folks mentioned some more normalcy. I drove by the field, speaking of spring sports, and we often talk about how kids are amazingly resilient and adapt and the baseball field was packed. It was a very full tryout. There wasn't one person not wearing a mask. The kids have just truly adapted to being happy with a really challenging situation, as well as our staff and faculty. So I'm extremely thankful. Thankful for the help of the Sturbridge Police Department this afternoon with, it's not only if we were out on 148 at 7:20, but if we were there about 1:30 today, it looked as rough. So, but we will get there. Just some growing pains with the transportation. So as far as the full in-person learning goes, we have received some additional updates from the Department of Ed. One relates to the quarantining requirements. We have not, as of today, changed our practice. The CDC maintains 6 feet of distance as a close contact, but the Mass Department of Ed, in conjunction with the Mass Department of Public Health and Office of Health and Human Services in the state, is now saying that if students, children really, because it does talk differently about staff, are 3 feet away or between 3 and 6 feet, masks on, while they are still considered a close contact, they would not need to quarantine. And that would go the same for anyone who has been fully immunized. So we are going to work with our public health agents to make sure that they're supportive of this change, and that will help around the quarantine requirements. Notified of that just last week, but again, still doing a little bit of work on that to confirm. We are also continuing with the pooled testing. I could not be more pleased to say, you saw in the family letter, we invited anyone to be part of the pooled testing, even honestly if it was for this week or next week after return from vacation. District-wide K-12, we had 198 tests conducted yesterday with 0 positive cases. The data came back out. So really great news. Really thankful for all of the hard work that the students for that. We received today some updated graduation guidance, so we will look and digest that. Not a lot is going to change for us. There will be, I believe, some loosening of some of the numbers of people who can who could attend, as well as the proximity of students with masks on the field. Definitely doing it outdoors. We aren't dealing with any of those limitations and percents of it inside, so that is good news. But we'll keep you updated as that goes. Mike and Mark, I think both referenced that there will be no requirement for MCAS for competency determination for, this had been announced around the class of 2021, but it was extended to the class of 2022. We will be obligated and certainly are happy to provide that testing opportunity for students to either be Abigail Adams or the Copeland Certificate of Master eligible, which will help with tuition for students. The junior high will have to offer remote testing for their students. And I think the 9th grade science will have to as well. So just not the juniors, not the ones who are doing it for the scholarship will have to come in. There is a training information tomorrow, so we are waiting to see what exactly will be required to have remote students access the test at home. So that will be a little bit different for us. Free meals, the U.S. Is it Department of Nutrition, Deb?
It's U.S. U.S. Department of
Nutrition has announced that they're extending free meals through next year.
all of next year.
So
free breakfast, free lunch for any kid. Cafeteria workers are already in campus. It's a good problem to have.
So we will work on that. Some of the regulation will need to be determined as to whether we need to stay with the bag and all the prepackaging. That takes time and that takes resources. Or are we going to be able to go to a little bit more traditional cafeteria? So you will see about that. We did include in your packet the grants that Jody worked on in reference through the curriculum subcommittee, the summer program grants. Really happy to be able to offer some of these opportunities for our students. And then last week, I also submitted the final substantial completion document to the MSBA and our OPM to say that we are at the level of substantial completion. We had our final sort of closeout meeting So the project at the junior high is officially will be done. Once the substantial completion documentation goes in, our warranty on all of it is for a year. So we continue to monitor, are there any issues or anything like that. With that, I'm ready to thank you for all your support for this. It's a great project. I was driving in the other day and just noticing just the difference, the visual of the green makes over the brown. It makes the building look 20 years younger. It's just really, really outstanding. And then finally, just a reminder that our last day of school has changed. I apologize for this, but I have no weather control. So it is now Monday, the 21st. I know last day of school, half day on a Monday is very challenging, but the forecast was anywhere between, while it was supposed to be according to 2 inches, it ended up being over a foot in some of our towns, so it ended up being a real necessary call. Wales and Holland, and actually, I was told at the Brimfield School Committee meeting last night that it was close to a foot in some of those. So it was a shared hurt, if you will. And we couldn't do remote, just to remind people, all of our elementary students have been back full in. So we had collected every remote tool. So in order to keep it the district uniform and not have a possible remote day for those in secondary, we just had to go to the snow day. I'm a little disappointed the seniors did not thank me.
They thanked you on social media all day long.
They were all over me on here about not having them. So I guess spring in New England, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you never know, but that would be right now our last. I'm going to pray. And that is it. That is what I have. A lot of reopening, lots of still continual daily updates from the Department of Ed on things that are changing. How do we deal with that? That's it. Good stuff.
Thank you, Dr. Nozick. All right. We handled unfinished and new, brings us to public access. Open forum for the committee.
I just have one thing that I'd like us to keep in front of our minds as we're going through the next few months. And that is, we've talked about starting to work on the new, or updating the old strategic plan for the committee. And I don't want us to lose sight of that, and, we're headed into summer and whatever. So I'd like to propose that the chair appoint a committee, or do this in any other way that you want to, but gather a group of people, small to begin with, to start putting out feelers to community, to people in the schools, to help us build this plan.
Yeah, I'm happy to send the communication out. It's less of an interest that we can get an ad hoc committee together. It will also probably make sense for us to work in conjunction with the superintendent evaluation.
Yes.
We're going to have an interesting year where we're
Yeah.
prorated roll between 2 votes.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Nozick takes the start. This is going to finish. So, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm happy to do that if everybody agrees. I'll send out a communication if you're interested in participating. Email back. Let's at least get a plan.
And could we have current plan, not mailed out, but emailed or
Yeah, send
whatever
it to
to the committee?
Yes, we'll send a current plan, and also we'll dust off the retreat.
Yes.
A year and a half ago now, there was
so
a 2-page summary that was an awesome summary of, because you had already started thinking forward, and I remember there was some good stuff in that document, so I know where it is, I don't know where it is electronically, but I know where the hard copy is, so we'll get that out also, just kind of start
That's a
refreshing.
good basis of notes. for sure.
Yep.
Great idea.
Yep.
And actually, the policy bylaw, at the show suggestion, we were looking at something that actually came out of the retreat, which is looking to discuss like sort of new member orientation. A lot of what we talked about at the retreat.
At the retreat.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And actually, our plan is to have that before bylaw subcommittee in time to submit it to this full committee at our next meeting. Hopefully get through the second reading by the end of the year.
And the leadership team is working on our updated district improvement plan, and that will be done by June as well. So the timing is perfect.
Okay, good.
Okay, at this point, we are going to be moving into two separate executive sessions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a motion and then a vote to enter into the first. We'll then recess for 5 minutes to allow for the camera crew to shut off for the first. So let's do that first. So I will entertain a motion to enter into executive session in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, subsection 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with union personnel. This relates to a Unit C grievance filed against the district. So do I have a motion? Motion made by Mrs. Randall, seconded by Mrs. Janik. We'll do a roll call vote first. Valenzola, yes.
Leo, yes.
I'm gonna state it for the record.
Okay. Randall,
So for the
yes.
record, Mrs. Barnacle is accusing herself from this session.
Randall, yes. Haley, yes.
Goodman, yes.
Alden, yes. Elmore, yes. Fitzgerald, yes.
Fitzgerald, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Noyes, yes.
Great. So at this time, we're going to recess for 5 minutes. At the conclusion of those 5 minutes, school committee members and central office staff only. We're going to do that. School committee and central office only. Adam and Amy, you can wait in the auditorium. I'll come get you when you're ready for you. So we'll give folks a quick 5-minute bio.